What's up guys, I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be continuing the backtesting session on gold using the very simple strategy which I currently use. So let's not waste any more time, let's jump right over to the charts and let's get into it. Alright guys, so thank you for joining me here over on the charts. Last time we got up to around August 2022, so we've got around 3 months left to do the final quarter of 2022. So what I'm going to actually do here is delete all of the markings and we're going to start from fresh. So let's zoom out to the daily as always. And in terms of higher time frame narrative at the moment, what we were looking for last time, if you guys remember, is that overall on the weekly time frame, price was sort of in this consolidation phase. So I'm still bullish overall on gold, but I was expecting price to maybe gravitate towards this low. Very clear liquidity level that price looks to be targeting. So in terms of direction, we are overall bullish on the weekly time frame, but as you guys will see in a moment, on the daily and 4 hour, price is still very much in this bearish structure, heading towards this drawn liquidity down here. And at the end of last time, we marked on our daily structure, which was this this structure right here. Price had created a lower low, pulled back into this daily supply and had started to push away from it. So what we were essentially looking to do is trade this internal trend down into the current trend low down here, and that is what we're going to be essentially continuing to do at the start of this session. So if you look at the current 4 hour structure, you can see that we had a mitigation of this supply. Price then pushed back down, creating a new low just here. Obviously after originally breaking structure to the downside up here, where it went from this bullish structure right into this bearish structure like this. Obviously back up here there was some sort of change of character, but I'm not going to bother to mark that on just because it is clear in this case. But yeah, overall we have some very clear targets direction wise. We have this low and we have this main trend low. Overall, obviously I'm expecting price to take this low since daily narrative remains bearish. As you guys can see, this just looks like a pullback for continuations lower into some of these lows. So what I'm going to do first of all is just mark on this low and also this weekly low with a line, just so I know when those levels are taken, because after they are taken you could possibly see a reversal, so we want to bear that in mind. Go into the hourly, let's have a look at some of the current levels that we have. So currently we're in Asian session, so I'm going to fast forward this session. Obviously I'm from the UK, so I wouldn't be able to trade Asian session because it happens overnight, and also typically you don't want to trade gold in Asian session anyway, just due to the fact that it is low volume, low liquidity conditions. But yeah, what I would look for here is a pullback into the current leg of the trend between the high and the low. Obviously if price breaks past this high and continues the momentum higher, we don't really want to be looking for shorts anymore and we can adapt our analysis. But as of right now, what I would look for would be maybe a pullback into this supply. You have some sort of inducement below it, if we mark that on. And overall, I think price could gravitate back towards this level, just because if you look like below this level, there's not really anything else that price is likely going to react from. You have Asia high just below it as well. So let's see if price starts to pull back. Obviously, we don't want to be selling all the way down here because price is very much in a discount. We want to wait for those higher prices to potentially jump in on the sells, and there you go, price has now come higher, swept that high, no reaction there. If price had reacted from this level and showed some sort of lower time frame breaker structure, then I would have also considered some sells in that after the sweep of liquidity. But now you guys can see the price has just come higher into this supply, so this is when we can look to potentially jump in the shorts if price presents a nice lower time frame entry. And as always guys, I use the 5 minute for my entry confirmation if you are new here, and we're simply waiting for price to go from this 5 minute bullish structure, shift bearish, and then wait for a pullback, and that is when we look to hop in. So let's see what price does here. Currently the bullish structure is holding. still holding, so I need to see a break below this low for the sells to be confirmed. Actually, what I've just noticed, this, I'm going with the wrong structure here. So we already had the change of character. As you guys can see, this was the 5-minute pullback, which put in a new high. Price broke that level after tapping into that hourly supply zone. So what I would do here would be potentially enter from either this supply or after that liquidity is taken out. So let's see if we get a retest at this zone, since I played price a bit too quickly, and as you can see, price already came into that zone. So I'm going to enter here with stops above the high. And for this trade, my target is going to be the current trend low down here, slightly below it, just to make the trade a 1 to 3, which is my minimum risk to reward per trade. There we go. So price has pushed back up. We're tagged into the trade. Nice reaction so far. Price broke structure again. Asia session continuing lower. Right, so we've now had another break of structure. So yeah, what I would potentially look for here is if price can show indication that it wants to continue even lower, then we could look for a re-entry if we can make the first entry break even. So let's just have a look here where we could potentially jump back in. So as of right now, I'm not seeing any two POIs that look too clean, but we could maybe see price come up and grab this liquidity and see what happens from there. There we go. So it did just end up taking that area. Right. So we've had clear sweep of this high in the range. The only thing that I don't kind of like about this is we have reacted from this demand. So let's see what price does here. Yeah, there we go. So we did get a continuation lower. Ideally, I would have actually entered from this level after the 5-minute change of character, but like I said, I was kind of put off from that trade due to the fact that price had come into this demand and had started to react. Yeah, there we go. So clear push lower. Simply looking for price to take that low now. And there we go. So first trade of the session, very nice, 3% on that. We are now 68% overall, as you guys can see down here. Risking 1% per trade, that is. So if we get rid of this, cool. So now simply looking to rinse and repeat that same process, looking to follow this structure down back towards some of the previous lows that we marked on. So if we zoom back out, again, I'm looking to take price down into this daily target. Right, so now we can look for some new POIs to go from. Currently, this one stands out to me. If we can get a pullback into that one, just because we have broke this structure, so we're expecting a bigger retracement. You have liquidity resting below this one as well. So see if price can start pulling back. You also kind of have this supply, but I wouldn't personally go off that because you have liquidity above it. Oh, okay, so that ended up actually being perfect. I don't think you would have got an entry there anyway. If you look on the 5-minute, there wasn't anything to go off. But yeah, we can delete this one now because I don't see price pulling all the way back to there. So we adapt to the new breaker structure, which we have just seen. Yeah, so conditions like these aren't really something you can trade, just because like price does a very small pullback and then continues lower, and it doesn't really tap into any valid areas. As you guys can see though, it hasn't yet taken out that daily low. If we look at the 4 hour, again, it took out this 4 hour wick, but overall expecting it to continue lower from here. POIs at the moment, there's not any that look too clean to me, unless maybe, you know, you have this liquidity level, maybe price can come up into that. But yeah, here in the live market, I would just simply be waiting to see how price develops. Yeah, I wouldn't want to sell here either. Right, if we go back to the 4 hour, you can see the daily is still very much bearish and it hasn't swept any liquidity yet. So still expecting continuations lower. And what we can actually see now, this is clearer to see probably on the 2 hour, it has come up, swept some previous highs, and it has come into this supply. If price fails this supply, then the next one I would look at would be this hourly one that we had up here. I marked that previously. But for now, I'm going to see how price reacts in this zone. There's not any 5-minute change of character yet, so let's just play price on, see how it develops. Yeah, so in terms of structure, I'd actually need to see it break this level. That's the current higher low in this uptrend, internal uptrend. Or obviously if price regrabs the high here and then breaks structure, that would also be valid for me. So if price did something like this, we can look for the sells in that case. Going to fast forward Asian session. Right, so let's have a look what happened here. Yeah, so this looks like quite an interesting scenario. So you could read this in one of two ways, right? You've had price come up, sweep the top of this supply, clear intent to the downside, right? So what we can look for here is maybe a pullback somewhere into this range, because you have now broken back bearish. If we mark that on the 15-minute. So we've broken back bearish. Price has made this extended move down. So if we can get a pullback here into one of these areas of supply, we could see some more shorts. At the moment, it doesn't look like price wants to pull back. It has come down and held the low, which kind of puts me off this trade because it could come back up and re-grab the high. So yeah, for now, let's just see how it reacts to some of these different zones. Yeah, so currently it looks quite bullish. Like I said, it held the low, broke back bullish, come down, retested demand. So we could now see it maybe come up towards the high. Maybe if we get retest into this area, we could look for some shorts. Right, so there we go. So price has tapped into this extreme, so the highest point in the range. took out some previous highs. So I'm seeing one of two possibilities here. Either price sort of reacts from this zone and continues lower, or we could potentially also see it come up, re-grab this high again and tap into the supply zone that we marked above. Any higher than that, then, you know, we could maybe look at shifting our bias back to bullish. That, for me though, is quite an unlikely scenario given that price has not yet taken any daily lows. So let's have a look at the reaction here. Has just broken bearish on the M5. So yeah, I'm actually going to get in a short here if we can sweep this high. Stops just above there, and we're going to go for, I'm just going to go for a 1 to 3 target just below these lows. We have Asia low below as well, so I do see this heading lower. Yeah, there we go. So that stop loss on that one. Again, completely fine. That's what risk to reward is for. And yeah, so there we go. Price ended up doing the second possibility, which was that we come up and re-grab the high. It is also approaching this supply zone. So two things are valid here for me. Either we see the sells now, that the high has been taken out, or we could see price come into the supply first. So let's see. Yeah, so price has started to sell off from there after sweeping that high. Overall though, you could also read this as a breaker structure for a retest into this demand that price has just come into. It has swept some previous lows, so you could maybe also look for a counter trend opportunity here if price presents that possibility. Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. So I was looking for buys here, but there wasn't really an opportunity for me to get in. And what we've seen now is actually exactly what we were looking for. Price has re-grabbed this high, tapped into the supply zone on the 1H. So yeah, this is the sort of optimal level to look for the shorts. Let's have a look how price reacts. Right, so there we go. We got the sell move. At the moment, there's not really anything as for entries. So yeah, maybe we see another grab of the high. Let's have a look. There we go. You've also now swept the top of the supply. So if we look to enter here. Yeah, so there we go. This is it. This is what I was looking for. We've had that change of character. Price created an area of supply. So I'm going to wait for a retest of this. I'm going to have stops just above this more premium supply. And for targets, I'm going to go for this low down here for around a 1 to 4. And cool, let's see if price can pull back for us. Okay, so loss on that one, that's fine. It was a valid entry. I think our entry was just slightly early actually. Yeah, so as you guys can see now, swept the top of the supply, re-grabbed the high once again, and now you've seen a very clear breaker structure on the 15-minute. So yeah, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to re-enter from this supply. The reason is, after the change of character, you've had Asian high inducing that level. So I'm going to set a limit on this zone. In this case, I'm going to have slightly more aggressive stop loss, just because in a scenario like this, if price does break above this supply zone, it's going to probably head towards the high as well, so there's no reason to have it all the way above this high. And then for targets, I'm going to go for the Asian low down here from the previous day. Right, so there we go. We are tagged into this trade. Let's see how it reacts on the 5 minute. Obviously, if you wanted to wait for another confirmation here, you could wait for this 5 minute structure to break. There you go. But if you had waited for the confirmation in this case, you wouldn't have got it. Price just melted. Probably the quickest trade we've had this whole backtesting session. It lasted about, once this candle came in, 10 minutes. But yeah, guys, now I'm going to get rid of some of these previous markings. So now we can just look for price to continue back into these lows. And for it to head back towards that main daily low as well. Again, just following this trend. Could see a pullback now first. Let's just see, after a big move down like this, you expect price just to consolidate for a bit. So we need to see some more structure to develop first before we hop in the shorts again. All right, yeah, there we go. So price broke the main structure. So I'm no longer interested in this internal trend. We are now looking for the external trend. So this one right here. Maybe look for a pullback up into this area. Or a sweep at that level. That would be nice as well. Price is also approaching that daily low, keeping that in mind as well. So yeah, let's see if we can get a pullback. Yeah, so that wasn't really tradable for me, just small consolidation before another push down. So if we zoom back out to the weekly, because what I wanted to draw some attention to now is the fact that we have swept this weekly low and price is also coming towards this weekly demand zone. Overall weekly time frame is still bullish. Price swept the low of the consolidation, so if we can come into this demand zone, I'm happy to look for some longs if price presents them, but also keeping in mind that the daily structure is still very much bearish, so we are still in this downtrend, still looking for shorts towards that level unless price gives us clear indication otherwise. So yeah, this is the current daily trend that we're looking at. In terms of areas where price could pull back into now, you have this clear 4-hour supply, which would be nice if price can pull back into it, which it looks like it might. We could also look for longs here actually, so I'm going to mark on this zone. The reason is, like I told you guys before, we swept that weekly low to the left. Price has now shifted bullish on the hourly and lower time frames. I'd want more confirmation inside this zone. I wouldn't really just want to set a limit in this case, just because of that, like I said, the overall daily trend is still bearish. But if we can get a confirmation in this zone before price touches the supply, I would consider some longs from this area. So let's see what price wants to do. Right, so there we go. We are tapped into that zone. So let's look for our confirmation. Asia low has also been swept. Right, so there we go. Price has now closed above the 5-minute structure. It has created an area of imbalanced demand. So this is a valid trade for me. I'm going to set the limit here. Have stops slightly below. And we can target this high up here for around a 1 to 3. Actually, in this case, I'm going to make the stops slightly smaller and go for sort of a more intraday level, 1 to 3 target. The reason I'm not really comfortable in this case targeting these highs up here is because I'm very much aware that this trade is very much counter trend and we're trying to predict a reversal here. Right, so there we are in the trade now. Let's see if we get the push. Cool, there we go. So quick in and out trade, 3% on that one. I don't really want to hang around in this trade for too much. Still looking for shorts mainly if price can react from this supply that we have above. But yeah, we could maybe look for now a re-entry on the buys. Maybe if price can come back into this demand, because it has now broke 15-minute structure as well. Again though, I want another confirmation in this zone. I don't want to just buy from it. There we are. So we are in this 15-minute demand. Price swept previous lows. So let's see if we can get an entry here. Yeah, so it looks like price wants to continue lower. I'm liking the fact now that we have all of these highs up here built above the demand zone that we're looking at. Sorry, the supply zone that we're looking at. So we could look for longs up into that level. Maybe from here, because price has tapped back into the demand that we were buying from originally. You also have equal lows down here now as well, so I don't really want to buy above that. And overall, this is just kind of a messy consolidation. There you go. So price has taken out. Actually, it took the main trend low again. So yeah, what I would look for now, I'm not really interested in longs. I'm looking for more so sells, because I see it likely that price heads towards these opposing highs up here. And yeah, there you go. So price took out those highs, tapped into this 4-hour supply. So if we look now for selling opportunities, we can see price did actually break some structure. We have an area of supply. This is a valid trade for me. So I'm going to set the limit here, have stops just above those highs, and we're going to target current trend low down here for around a 1 to 3. I would cancel this now. Price got away from us, and if it does come back up now, I wouldn't set a limit there just because the low would have held, and once the low has held, there's a high likelihood that price takes the high. So let's see what price wants to do here. There we go. So it did tag into our POI. Let's see if we get a confirmation. Like this whole zone is the area which broke structure, so this is where we can look for the shorts. See what price wants to do here. Yeah, there we go. So we did get a break of structure. So let's see if price can pull back here. At the moment, it just looks like it wants to continue selling. Yeah, there you go. So not really any confirmation there. The original trade, which we had set a limit for, would have actually played out, but for me it was invalid once price held this low and rallied back towards the high, because from past data I know that once that happens, more often than not, like in a sample, like a decent amount of the time price is going to come up and take the high, so I'd rather not be involved in that trade, because over a sample I wouldn't be profitable using that. But yeah, price is now continuing lower, approaching the weekly demand that we have marked as well. And yeah, there we go. So price is now in that weekly demand. This is when there's a high probability of a reversal for price to continue higher. So I'm going to get rid of some of this daily structure just because it's not relevant anymore. Obviously, we can still look for the sells if price presents them, but we're just going to keep in mind that this is an area where you could see a reversal. This whole range as well, there's not notice how there's not really a clear POI for it to react from. This is the next liquidity. So now that price has swept those weekly lows, we could definitely see it come higher and at least grab this previous high. First of all though, we need to see it clearly flip bullish, which it has not done at the moment. Obviously, actually, I've just noticed as well, you have this sort of supply zone. If price reacts from this supply zone and holds it, I'm happy to look for shorts. Right, so at the moment, price slightly missed it. Okay, this is Asian session, so I'm going to fast forward. Yeah, I think we missed a setup there. So price pulled back, reacted from this supply. I played price too quickly there, so I didn't see that. Yeah, there we go. So currently, as you guys can see, structure is still very much bearish. So until we see a clear change of character and price continue higher, I'm just looking for shorts. Right, so this could be it. Notice now price has flipped bullish. If we mark that on the hourly as well, you can very clearly see price broke the current lower high, creating a higher high. So yeah, likelihood now price maybe gravitates towards some of this opposing liquidity up here. If we go to the daily as well, yeah, so as you guys can see on the daily as well, this is very much like the opposing liquidity. So even if the daily is going to continue bearish, you could at least see price come up into this daily supply. And I'm actually going to remark on daily structure because this was the current daily breaker structure. So keeping in mind that the daily time frame is only going to flip bullish once price breaks this high. So at the moment, the lower time frame has flipped bullish, but the daily is still overall bearish. Just keeping that in mind. Areas where we could see price pull back into, maybe this one. Right, so once you see price get away from you like this, it's not likely anymore that we see a pullback all the way into this zone, so you can start to look for some different zones instead. At the moment, I'm not seeing any, so I'm just going to keep playing price. Right, so price has now broken into new highs again. Again, look how it looks like it's going to gravitate towards this liquidity. There's nothing below this level for it to react from, so we're just looking for more buys up into that level. So if we go back to the M15, maybe if we see a grab of the Asian low, or from before we also have this demand zone down here. Okay, this is Asian session, so I'm going to head to the next session. Yeah, there we go. So price did end up sweeping these lows, but there wasn't an entry there for me. Slightly messy consolidation phase, not really anything I would be looking to trade. Yeah, so now price is very clearly broken past that liquidity level. So the next area I would watch out for, where we could see some sells come back in, is this daily supply that we have up here. So I'm going to monitor that, just in case we do see some more sells. And then I can also look for some buys up into it. Right, yeah, so we didn't see a pullback for the buys. Price has now flipped back bearish on the M15. So let's see how this develops. Yeah, so we've re-grabbed the high. Right, so could maybe see some shorts from this level. Price is in this daily supply. It broke this M15 structure and has just held that supply zone, as you guys can see. So what I'm going to do here is do market execution. Stops slightly above that high in case price wants to re-grab it. And as for targets, I'm going to go for we could maybe see. So if I have a slightly tighter stop and enter on the supply zone itself, I can get away with targeting this hourly demand. I don't really want to target lower than that, just because obviously after all of this bullishness, you don't really want to be targeting a huge sell move. So this is very much a lower probability trade, if it is even tagged in. There we go. Very quick trade as well, as you guys can see. We did end up getting tagged in, price swept the inducement, and we had this sell-off. So that was a very nice trade. Right, but now we have come into that demand zone, so we could see some more longs. Just keeping that in mind. Yeah, so let's see what happens in this demand. If price breaks any lower than this, then we could definitely see more selling. We're getting a push away from it at the moment though, so let's see if it holds. Yeah, there we go. So price is continuing lower. I am no longer interested in buys, more so looking for the shorts now. Actually, no, we could have looked for buys there after price swept this low, as you guys can see. Did it sweep it actually? I think it... No, so it created equal lows below. Didn't sweep the demand. See how Asian session plays out. So yeah, so guys, at the moment I'm just waiting for like a clearer indication of whether this wants to go lower or continue higher. Yeah, there we go. So now we've got a clear reversal coming in, and we can look to short price down. If we zoom back out, we can just essentially look to short price back down, like maybe towards at least this liquidity level that it's gravitating towards. If we look on the 4 hour, you could maybe see a reaction after that. You have this 4 hour demand which caused this change of character. So that's my next sort of target. I'm going to also mark back on this daily supply. So yeah, overall price failed to break any daily structure. So it looks to be continuing lower, and we could see it maybe head down, at least target this liquidity. So what I'm going to do now is actually go back to the 1 hour and look for some more selling opportunities down to those levels. Right? So if we actually zoom in on the lower time frames, could look for a pullback here, but I'm not seeing any clear POIs at the moment. Notice how price reacted here, didn't sweep the liquidity. So I think it looks like it's creating a sort of support for price to then come lower. Could be wrong, but that's my view at the moment. Right, so this area here is my next POI. So if we zoom out, what I've noticed is that price is reacting from this sort of hourly supply. It pushed down, created all of these lows, and it has now created this sort of supply zone that it has not retested into. I'd want another confirmation on this though, rather than just entering from it. There we go, so price is in our zone. If we go to the 5 minute, yeah, there we go. So you did get the change of character, but you couldn't have entered on that just because if price just completely sold off, there wasn't really an opportunity there. But yeah, we've got another breaker structure now. We can look to follow this structure. Structure looks a lot clearer now as well. I would also keep in mind that we're approaching this liquidity. But yeah, POI for me, maybe this 4 hour supply that we have, that price just broke out of. And obviously you could also refine it to like this sort of area. Price created equal lows now as well. So let's just see how it reacts here. Like I said, this whole area is the supply. And yeah, there you go. So price has now broken structure. We have an imbalanced area of supply up here, but just because you could also view this as an inducement below this hourly supply, I'm going to wait for an extra confirmation if price pulls back into this zone. Right, so there we go. Price is tagged into the zone. This is London session open, which swept Asia high to the left, as you guys can see. So yeah, let's see if price gives us a 5 minute breaker structure here. There we go. So I'm actually going to just enter market execution here. I'm going to have stops just above that supply, and I'm going to target this low down here. There we go, we're starting to see the sell-off. Obviously, if you wanted to wait for a more obvious change of character, you could have waited for a retest of this supply. But yeah, that would have missed if you would have waited for that anyway. But yeah, cool. Price has now broken structure again. So if we were looking for a re-entry possibility, now that price has clearly broken past Asia low, we could maybe wait for, you know, a retest of this supply, maybe. Yeah, there we go, but there's no confirmation there for me. But yeah, cool. Our position played out very nicely, 5.8% on that. And price has now also swept that 4-hour liquidity, but I think still it could head towards that 4-hour demand that we have below. So with this, maybe we could see a pullback here because it has, like I've said, if we zoom back out, it has just swept that 4-hour low. Actually, yeah, so you know what? If price does present longs here, I'm happy to take longs just because that 4-hour liquidity has been swept. Essentially, all of the liquidity within this range has now been taken. So if we go to the M5, if price can break this high, I'm happy to look for longs. Yeah, so I like this actually. If we mark this on, we've had a regrab of the low. Price has broken structure very clearly. And we have an area of imbalanced demand. If price can retest into this, I can look for some longs if we can cover the low. And for targets, I'm going to go for this high. The reason I'm going for this high is because if we zoom back out, this area of supply is a previous area of premium supply in this range where we could maybe see price react from again if this liquidity is taken. And if price does come into this level, I'm going to look for some shorts as well. So yeah, our long position has now been tagged in. Price is holding above the level so far. And has broken structure again. So this, we're confident in this trade now. And yeah, this is running very nicely. So if we zoom out to the higher time frame, let's just speed this up a bit. There we go, very nice. So another 4% on that one. Again, a very simple analysis behind that one. It swept this 4-hour low, swept this low, and it came into this imbalance as well. 5-minute broke structure after regrabbing the lows, and that was all there was to this trade. But if we look now, hourly time frame is still very much bearish. So what I'm looking for here is either price to sell from where it currently is, or maybe if we get a retest of this hourly supply, which was induced with these highs, right? But this area here is sort of more within the range, so I'm going to look for some shorts here. Price also swept the top of that supply high, so let's have a look how it reacts. Need to see it break this candle for the change of character. Right, so now we need to see it break this low because it regrabbed the high. Now, it did cause a change of character there, but I'm not seeing any areas to enter from just yet. Right now, this is a good opportunity. So we've had clear bearish order flow come in after the sweep and change of character. I'm not going to mark that on just because there's no real need to. So I'm going to enter here, have stops just above that high, and for targets I'm going to go for this liquidity level down here for, again, around a 1 to 5. There we are tagged in. If Price can also break this structure. That's a 15-minute change of character as well. Which that, yeah, there we go. So we have now had the 15-minute flipped back bearish. And there we go. So very nice trade there. Price pretty much sold straight towards the TP. And yeah, so what I'm looking for now is continuations into this low. Obviously, price has now reacted from the supply. I'm no longer looking for it to come up into that zone. I'm looking within this range. So what I'm looking for here is a pullback, maybe into this supply for continuations. Obviously with another confirmation inside that area. There we go, let's fast forward Asian session. So yeah, we've had a sweep of that supply, but since we have started to see selling, this is still a valid trade for me. And yeah, so this would be a valid opportunity. Price calls the change of character. We have this supply zone created. I'm going to enter here. We have stops above the high, and we're going to target this low. Slightly smaller risk to reward on this one, but still a 1 to 3, so it's valid for me. Cool, this is still valid at the moment. I'm now seeing this high as an inducement. Oh, there we go, sniper entry on that one. Let's see if price can continue. Looks like it may come back into the supply. Oh, no, cool, so there we go. Very clear trade once again. So one thing I want to add here is when you have very clear trending conditions like this, this is when you want to kind of lock in, zoom in, check your focus and sort of put more emphasis onto looking into setups, because this is when you can make a lot of profit when conditions are very clear and optimal like this. Right, so we are seeing another pullback. Price has not swept this low yet, so we can look for another selling opportunity. Maybe if we come up and sweep. So if we mark back on what price has actually done. So we've had this change of character. It has come back down, broke the low again after sweeping this high. So next POI to look for shorts, I would look for a sweep of these equal highs. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting the pullback. And price has broken the main low again. So we can now get rid of this. This is the internal structure. This is the main breaker structure. And yeah, still looking for shorts down into this low, this demand zone that we have. Yeah, there we go. So we didn't really get a pullback. Price has now come into this demand. So this is where we want to be looking for longs. The reason I'm looking at this demand, by the way, is because it did cause this 4-hour change of character. I'm going to get rid of some of this because it's just mess at the moment. So yeah, you could read this in one of two ways. Like we said previously, price had come into that weekly demand to the left, caused the 4-hour change of character. So you could view this as a change of character for longs, for price to come up and re-grab this high. Or you could also view it, like we said, for as this being your daily breaker structure for a pullback to continue lower. I'm more leaning towards the bullish narrative though, just because if you look on the weekly, structure is still very much bullish. This was just a consolidation which price has broken out of. It hasn't really broken any main downtrend structure, any main bullish structure, so still bullish overall. So yeah, let's see how price reacts in this zone. I'm going to fast forward Asia session. Right, so that is exactly what we wanted to see. So we have a 15-minute breaker structure. We have an area of demand here. So if price can pull back into here, I'm happy to take longs, stops below that low, and I'm going to target, if I zoom out, where could price react from? Maybe this supply. So actually I want to have slightly smaller stop loss. And the reason I can have a slightly smaller stop loss on this one is because if price comes below this demand, I want to be out of the trade anyway. So there's no reason having it all the way below the low. There we are, we're tagged in. Let's see how the 5 minute reacts. Cool, so 5 minute did end up breaking structure. If you missed the initial entry, you could look to long from here because you had that 5 minute change of character. And yeah, that would have also played out very nicely, but because we're in this initial trade, I wouldn't enter that again because then you have 2% open risk rather than 1. And there we go. So again, very quick in and out trade. This would have been done by London session close, I think. Yeah, so by noon in the UK. And yeah, I'm going to monitor price here because we could see a reversal. It has come back into the supply. And obviously now you've got sort of obvious liquidity below these lows. Yeah, I don't really want to look for sells here because I'm overall bullish and price has come into our demand zone. So yeah, let's just see how it reacts here. Yeah, there you go. So you did end up getting sells after price went slightly higher. What we could maybe look for now, price has re-grabbed. Actually, so yeah, this is another perfect setup. Price has re-grabbed the low. It's still within this 4-hour demand zone. Asia low has been swept in London session again. And we've now seen another change of character. If I mark that on for you guys. This was your change of character, both on the M5 and M15. I'm looking to enter off this demand we have here. If price comes into it, stop slightly below the low. And for this one, I'm going to target this high up here. Depending on how price moves away from the demand, we could maybe look to take profit earlier, but let's just see how it reacts from now. There we are, nice push so far. And yeah, I'm happy to hold this into this high now. If you look to the left, there's not really anything for it to react from until it sweeps the liquidity. And there we are. So very nice 5% trade there. Like I said, price re-grabbed the lows in this 4-hour demand, which caused the change of character. And then on the 15 minute, it flipped back bullish here, pulled back, held demand, and we were targeting opposing liquidity. But yeah, guys, this video is already going to be quite long. We probably have one more part of this series, so we have November and December to do. So if you guys want to see that part, make sure to like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and yeah, guys, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the next video.